Yeah. I would say probably step one is planning your testing schedule.
Definitely, because without a good plan, how are you going to know if you've achieved what you're looking for? So pick a time of when you're going to do this. It could be something scheduled every Sunday night, for instance, if that's a slow time in your system, or maybe every Monday morning if it's something you have to do when you're in the office. And then figure out what you want to do to get it done regularly to ensure that consistency.
Could you create a documented book to make it so that you could standardize the process and train team members from, that point on?
Oh, yeah. And the way I like to do that is to have two things in that run book. One is the steps of what you do, so that if this happens and it's 3 o'clock in the morning and you're a little bit tired and not quite awake, you've got a standard list of steps to follow so you know you're not missing anything. But the other thing is that run book gives you all the steps to do it, that you can use it to train your team members. And then additionally, to track when we do that, how long it takes to do those restores and what kind of problems we ran into so we can help address those in the future.
Yeah. And then step two would be set up a test environment.
And the test environment, this is something that's different for everyone. I mean, we have one client that has a single RDS SQL server, and their test environment is just to restore a copy onto that same SQL server. There's other people we work with that they have a development and a test environment, as well as developer desktops, and then their production environment. And the right test environment for them is we first do a restore to their testing server, and then we do a restore to their development server. But there's a lot of options out there. I mean, you can go and spin up a cloud-based virtual machine on Azure or AWS pretty cost effectively for a short amount of time, do the restore, do some testing there, and then get rid of that server after you know that the restore is good.
Yeah, there is low cost options for, smaller businesses and stuff.
Oh, yeah, definitely. And I think that one of them is people get caught up a lot on your SQL Server licensing. And if you have a production server, you're usually paying by core licensing. But if you have a non-production server that you're going to go test your restores on, like a development box, you don't have to pay for standard or enterprise edition. You can go get the developer edition, which is a free version of SQL Server that could run on, as long as it's big enough to hold your database, it doesn't have to be well performing, as a place to regularly test your backups too.
And then step three would be to perform the restore.
Yep. And this is one of those things that to perform the restore, you want to make sure you have as much of this scripted as possible so you don't have to be making typos or mistakes every time you do it. You want to decide when you're doing it, are you going to be restoring a full backup, or a full backup plus differentials, or a full backup plus transaction differentials and transaction logs for a point in time recovery? I think it's important to do all of these. I know, talking with Derek, one of our team members, when he does a restore like this, he always likes to do a transaction log backup for a point in time recovery, even if it's just going to a development or test environment. So if our client said, can you give us a restore to our test environment from whatever time? Usually they say anytime in the last 24 hours. What we'll do is we'll just pick a time that's going to force us to do a full backup, a full restore, differential restore, and transaction log restores, so that we can make sure that that whole process is tested for that client.
Step four would be verify that the restore, worked correctly.
Yeah, so there's a number of ways to verify the restore. The first and obvious way is just to check and see, well, did the database get there? Okay, that's the first one. If you don't have any database, you're in a world of hurt. But if the database got there, then there's things to do to verify, well, is it the right point in time database? And the way I usually check that is I'll go find some table that has a lot of transactions or a lot of activity in it, and make sure that there are up to that point in time transactions there. Maybe some table that has a date timestamp on it, so you can easily check when the last time something was updated or inserted on it. But the biggest thing is not just to restore it, but to know that it restored and it came back clean without corruption. So you'd want to do the restore and then run DBCC CHECKDB to go and scan that entire database and make sure that it's not corrupt. And oftentimes that CHECKDB may take more time than the actual restore itself. And then in a perfect world, you could take a test application server and point it at that database and make sure things work. But the reality is most of the time you don't have that option. Just being able to check to make sure the database is there, there's recent transactions in it, and that CheckDB ran is usually good enough.
And step 5 would be automate and monitor from there on out.
And I mean, one of the things that I truly hate is just repetitive tasks. Even if the client says we want to pay you for this repetitive task, I just don't like doing those. So I always like to try and figure out how can we take that and script it and automate it so that I'm not there clicking through dialogue after dialogue after dialogue to be testing all of this. To put it together, get it so it's fully scripted. And we have a script that we use internally for this that you just give it a database name, you give it a directory, and you give it a new name, and it'll go find the last backup for that database, the freshest backup, and it'll restore it under a new name and give you a test database or whatever to work off of at that point. That's one of those that we could put on a SQL Server agent job and even schedule it so once a week it would run. It would do that restore. Once it's done, we'd then run CheckDB and maybe have a couple of queries that run against it to make sure it looks good. Automation is the way to go there because I don't want to be spending my life continually doing this.
Thanks for watching. I'm Steve, and I hope you've enjoyed this video. If you like it, please click the thumbs up icon. And if you want to subscribe, click subscribe to our channel and click the bell icon to get notified when we have new videos. All right, have a great day.